Welcome to Baking Scraps. I'm Lisa.
Hi, Lisa. I'm Christina. Hello, everyone.
Oh, hi, Christina. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
We
you
have met
too.
before
Have we now? A few times.
a few times,
Yeah.
but we thought that we would introduce ourselves to you, the listening audience, a little bit more so you could get to know us a little bit better before you start listening to us every week, because that's what you're going to do, right? You're going to listen to us every week, and then you're going to check us out on YouTube as well, and then you'll be able to see our smiling faces, our
Exactly.
tired, smiling faces.
Our tired, smiling faces for sure. It has definitely been quite the ride getting this podcast all started. We hope everybody enjoyed last week's episode with our special guest star, Loic. What a treat it was to have him on the show. And we thought it was important to start off really, really strong with an amazing baker that everybody knows and loves so well. But like Lisa said, this episode is all dedicated to getting to know us a little bit more. And hopefully after today's show, you will still come back for next week's show.
We'll try not to say anything too off-putting.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not.
So we decided to start this podcast just because we really felt like there's such a community of bakers online, on Instagram, on Facebook, and they started reaching out to each other in different ways outside of those communities. A lot of them have been brought together by the Great Canadian Baking Show. I know that's how Cristina and I actually got to know each other. And we really felt like this was something that there wasn't a lot of out there. I like to listen to podcasts about the Great Canadian Baking Show personally, and I couldn't really find very many of them. We're definitely going to expand our horizons a little bit more and not just do the Great Canadian Baking Show. But we wanted to share our love of baking, our love of this baking community, and we wanted to do it for and with the bakers that have inspired us.
And
Thoughts on that, Christina?
I have lots of thoughts on that, Lisa. You said it so eloquently, actually. It's so true. It is such an amazing community of wonderful bakers out there, and the support and love they have for each other is unmatched, I think, amongst other communities around. And we couldn't be more lucky to be part of that and to have so much incredible support. When we started this podcast idea, we reached out to a few people and everybody was wholeheartedly behind us. And that's being such a special part of pulling this all together. And we really can't wait. Like Lisa said, definitely there's going to be a large focus on the Great Canadian Baking Show, just because we know so many people within that wonderful community. But we also have a great reach with other bakers, baking businesses, different things like that we're really excited to get on the show as well, and talk about not just all baking, but for people who are looking at doing micro bakeries out of their homes, or looking at other parts of the baking businesses around there.
We've got influencers, baking influencers, I guess is the best way of calling them, people who bake, decorate cakes online, basically for their living, people who educate, people who teach baking classes either in person or online. We've got people who have been on other baking shows. We have the Spring Baking Championship. We have the Great Chocolate Showdown. We have another very special baker that we're going to be talking to soon, who has a show currently running on a very cool app that you should really get and check out. And yeah, we also thought you're probably wondering why you should listen to us and why we are any kind of voice in this baking community. So we thought we would give you a little bit more information about ourselves with this episode.
We're going to do bit of a back and forth question Q&A between Lisa and myself. I will ask Lisa some questions. Lisa will ask me some questions. And at the end of it, we're going to do a quick round of our very favorite this or that. So Lisa, do you want to get started? Do you want me to start with the first question?
I think it would be pretty cool if you get started. And before anybody wonders, we do not know what questions we are going to be asked or asking each other. Well, we know what we're going to be asking. I don't know what you're going to ask me, and you don't know what I'm going to ask you. So it'll
We
be
know what we're
interesting
going
to
to be.
see how
I know what
much
I'm going to be
intersection.
asking you.
I hope so.
Absolutely. All right. So,
Let's
all
get
righty. So, first
started.
question I have for you, Lisa. I think everybody or most people who know you or follow you on Instagram or Facebook knows that you are an incredibly avid baker. I think people would love to know, how did you first get into baking? What kind of things inspire you? Was there any specific person that inspires you? You know, how did you get into baking to begin with? How did
Well,
you
I
become Lisa
actually,
Caker Lady?
oh yeah, that's me, Lisa Caker later. Late. Lisa, I can't even say my own Instagram name. Lisa
That's okay. I
Caker
got you,
lady.
girl. Lisa Kicker
Thanks.
lady.
It's the reason I'm Lisa Caker lady, by the way, is because Moms in the Kitchen at Moms in the Kitchen was taken. And that's what I've always called myself because that was kind of what at least the last 6 or 7 years have been. It's like, oh, where's mom? Mom's in the kitchen. You know, that's mom's happy place. That's what mom's doing. And so I always think of my little bakery endeavors as moms in the kitchen. Um, but I never really was an avid baker like I am now. I did all kinds of other things in my life that it was, my creative output. And I always made cakes for my kids for their birthdays, etc. But I didn't really get into baking until about, I think it was 2017. And my friend Dina, who lives in Philadelphia, shout out to Dina, you are the greatest. Well, not the greatest. Christina's pretty great too. But Dina and I have been friends since we were like, thank you. Dina and I have been friends since we were like 7 years old. We went to theater school together, and she moved to Philadelphia as an adult, and I went to visit her. And we do this thing called Lazy Dina Day. She calls it Lazy Lisa Day or Pajama Day, where we stay in our pajamas all day long and we write down on slips of paper shows that we want to watch, and we just literally laze around all day. We eat sushi, we have expensive chocolates that we bring in, and we draw these names out of a hat as to, okay, what are we going to watch next? And we basically have to watch whatever comes out of the hat. And she said, I really want to put the Great British Bake Off in there. And I was like, what is that? That sounds so boring. And she said, it's a baking show. And I said, I do not like cooking shows. I am not interested. And she said, please, let's do like one episode. And so I reluctantly let her put that in the hat, and we drew it out. I think we watched two other movies first. It was a 3 or 4 movie day. But once we drew the Great British Bake Off and started watching it, after that first episode, I was absolutely hooked. And she said, okay, we can watch what you want to watch now. And I was like, no, I wouldn't mind keeping going. Let's watch another episode. And we binge watched it. And then I was like, I really want to try that. Oh, I want to try that. And so, yeah, we started baking together at that point, and I have not stopped. And so Dina takes real 100% credit for the monster that is Moms in the Kitchen, Lisa Caker lady that she has created. So that's how I got started.
That is awesome. And thank you, Dina, for doing that, forcing Lisa to watch the Great British Bake Off, because had it not been for that, or had you actually, I'm talking to Dina here. Thank you, Dina.
Yeah.
But had you not convinced her that she needs to do this is part of the day, we might not have Lisa here today. And so for that, I am incredibly grateful and thankful for you, Dina. And I'm so glad that Lisa, Moms in the Kitchen, Lisa Kicker Lady is who she is today, thanks to you.
Thanks, Dina. We love you. I got to pause for 1 second because my
Aw,
oven is beeping. So hang on.
no worries.
Hey,
Real time here
hi.
on Baking Scraps.
Okay.
No
And that wasn't
worries.
even anything exciting. It's just pork roast. Ah, okay.
Sounds
It's my
delicious.
turn.
I
I
had
think
mini
it will
wheats
be.
for dinner tonight.
Guilty pleasure. All right.
Actually, Lucky Charms, but I'm out of Lucky Charms right now, so it was mini wheats.
Mini wheats works. All right. My
Yeah.
first question for you, Christina. Surprisingly, it's
Mhm.
when and how did you get started baking?
Shocking. Shocking, Lisa. I would never have guessed that might be the first question that might be asked. So very cool. I actually started baking with my mom and my grandmother when I was probably a toddler. I have very fond memories of sitting on the kitchen counter as, my mom and my grandmother would be whipping up all these incredible desserts and cakes and cookies, and tapioca pudding was one of my grandmother's favorite things to make.
Oh,
And she made
love
these
it.
amazing cookies. I come from a Portuguese background, so there was always an endless abundance of baked goods everywhere. So it's just crazy, crazy amazing. And Christmas at our place was just next level, or any of the family holidays were just next level craziness with all the baking. But one of my
Name it.
favorite memories, or one that's definitely entrenched in my mind, was my mom was baking a chocolate cake for somebody's birthday. I was sitting on the counter, and at that point, I had really long hair, and they used to be up in two pigtails on top of my head. And so I was like really,
Oh,
really curious as to what my mom was doing. So you see where this is going, right? So I
yeah,
kind of
I think I
went
see where it's
in
going.
to kind of look, and my ponytail flipped into, she had a stand mixer, flipped into the stand mixer, and it got caught up in the beater. Chocolate
Oh my
cake kind of
gosh.
went everywhere. My mom's panicking. And
Yeah, I
then,
would panic
yeah,
too.
so needless to say, yeah, that was a bit crazy. And although you would think that that might be traumatic, it certainly wasn't, because I still love to bake. But I definitely owe my baking, my love for baking, my passion for baking, to those two wonderful ladies who sadly are no longer with us, but certainly
Yes.
still show up in every single thing that I bake every day.
Yes.
So.
Yes, definitely you've got that influence. And I know that you have told me that you then later in your childhood or in your teen years cut your hair short, and it was short for a very long time. So did that have anything to do with the traumatic beater experience?
No, it certainly didn't. I think it was more my love for Dorothy Hamill and figure skating, to be honest with you. I think that was my biggest influence for getting that hair chopped off which then took me probably about 6 or 7 years to grow back. And ever since I grew it back, I've actually kept it a little longer. This is about actually shorter than I've had it for quite some
Yeah.
time. But
And I bet you're
yeah,
very careful
crazy.
to
But no, it
always
was
keep it
we
pulled
can.
back.
Absolutely. And so when I'm making, it's always back in a little bun in the back. So yeah,
Yeah.
regardless of the length of it these days. So
Yes.
yeah, too funny. On one of our last episode with Loic, we talked about baking fails and
Mhm.
how, as bakers, especially bakers that post on Instagram, we
Yes.
don't tend to focus on those baking fails, or bakes that, maybe you had something in your mind of how it was going to turn out, and it ended up being not so much what you envisioned.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
do you have a funny or a memorable baking fail that you'd like to share with everybody today?
It's funny because you ask if it's memorable, and I remember the feeling associated with it, and I remember how terrified my husband was of me, just because of how I reacted, how violently I reacted. But I don't remember exactly what it was that happened. I believe it was an icing. Whatever type of buttercream I was using was not working on this particular cake, or maybe I had, maybe the cake was not defrosted enough or something, but every time I started trying to smooth this buttercream on this cake, it would just like gap off, just kind of slide off the cake. Or I would try to, pass the smoother around, and it would rip off a giant chunk. And it was like hours of trying to fix this cake just to put, the layer of buttercream on, and it was driving me absolutely crazy. And I just remember this feeling like the Hulk, like rising up inside me. And it was just like, I have to, it was like Loic throwing the pot of caramel out into the backyard. I was just ready to throw everything across the kitchen. And I just remember this scream building. And Chris comes, worriedly poking his head around the corner to see what was going on. I was like, I had it. I was ready. I was ready to never bake again. That was how I felt. Like, I cannot do this anymore. So it was something that probably was a relatively easy fix, but just the level of rage that was rising in me. So I really endeavor never to let that happen again. Not a big fail, but I think a definite feeling of failure at the time.
Yeah, fair enough. And you know what? I think we all feel like that at any given moment when we're doing a cake, and especially if it's an important one, or if you've got some time crunches or something like that. It always, Murphy's Law, right? It always happens when you're short on time to begin with, and you're maybe trying to rush it a little bit or what have you. But oh my goodness, I can't see that. You're so mild-mannered all the time, Lisa. So, or you keep it well hidden at least. So I have not seen that side of Lisa yet, and I hope not to, because
you don't want to.
I don't think I do. I don't think I do.
No, it takes a lot to get me mad, and so that's how you know that was really like very, maybe possibly hormone driven. Who knows? I don't know. Nobody else can say that. Nobody's allowed to say that but me, that it was a possibility that it was hormone driven. But yeah, once I hit that certain boiling point, you don't want to see it. It's not fun. It's not pretty. I'm rather ashamed of it.
Oh, you should. No shame, no judgment. No shame, no judgment here. So don't worry about it. I think we've all had those moments. And if we haven't had those moments as bakers, we're probably doing something wrong. So
yeah. Yeah. And I do think it's a good idea for us to post those fails. And, there've been a couple of other ones that you and I have talked about. And I think we definitely should make some kind of baking craps compilation for people.
I think that is going to be landing on our Instagram pages pretty darn quickly, actually. Yeah. So even possibly before this episode airs. So.
Yeah. I think that makes sense.
Because I agree with you. I think as much as we celebrate all the successes, I think it's even more important to celebrate our failures. And I think for the fact that, hey, we're all entitled to make mistakes. We're human. And at the end of the day, that's how we learn to get better 100%. and learn different techniques or coping mechanisms to manage our expectations, manage our anger.
Hormones?
That's medication, I think.
Yeah, I think I'm getting to that point soon, sadly.
Oh, man. Yeah. Or just yoga, breathing. How about me?
Yeah, what's your biggest baking fail? And yes, that was one of my questions on my list.
Yeah, so far we're 2 for 2, huh?
We really are.
Really, just so you know, we are pretty much the same people. So much fun though.
It is
so much fun. My biggest baking fail. Oh, gee. Okay. So I have baked my son's birthday cake since he was really, really little. We very rarely had store-bought cakes for birthdays. And his favorite is Black Forest. And a few years ago, I think it was 2021, we had that super hot summer. And Josh is a summer solstice baby. He was born June 21st. And we always make such a big fuss of having his birthday. It's a very important date for our family, and it's a really important time for us to really celebrate his birthday. And so there's always so much care and attention that I take in making his cake and making sure that it is amazing, both taste-wise and the look of it. And just, it's probably the most special bake that I make every single year. So 2021, the hottest summer we've ever had. He wants Black Forest. That involves whipped cream. It involves cherry filling, which I painstakingly...
And you don't like whipped cream on chocolate cake.
I'm not a fan of whipped cream on cake to begin with. So if that's part of your this and that, you'll know the answer to it. But
I already knew that one.
don't like whipped cream on cake. I think on pie, yes. On cake, not so much. But
Yeah.
anyway, so I made sort of more that traditional Black Forest cake. Made the cherry filling by hand. I grew up in the Okanagan. Had just recently been there. Had some fresh Okanagan cherries because they were early enough.
Yes.
Painstakingly, one by one, pitted them. Made this filling. Put it all together. It could have been a little bit thicker, but I kind of like it a little juicier. And I thought, that whip up the whipped cream well. Anyway, you can see where this is all going.
I'm really dreading it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So fast forward, it looked like a murder scene at the end of it all.
Oh,
Because I use I have I love, as you know, and our viewers now will know, one of my secret ingredients is black cocoa, and I love using those in my chocolate cakes just for the richness of it. So I had 4 layers of this beautiful, deep,
black
dark
cocoa
cake. I had the whipped cream. I had this wonderful cherry filling, which was really delicious. And then 4 layers. That was probably another mistake. I probably should have kept it as a single layer with the toppings. That would have been a little bit better, or hollowed it out or something and put pieces in the middle.
dowels, although that wouldn't make sense.
Dowels wouldn't have helped
because
essentially it just like
just the inside.
it just glued right all out.
Oh.
And it looked horrific. And here I am. And honestly, I look back and I'm kicking myself that I didn't take a picture of it because it was so bad. I think everybody could have had a really good laugh at it. But anyway.
So did your son have a good laugh at it, or was he?
So I'm bringing it out. Happy birthday. And he and his fiance at the time were looking at me going, what is that? Because it had, by that point, just like it was
already
like
started.
and it's like the cake layers were all sliding everywhere, and it was just a colossal mess. So basically, put it on the table. Everybody had a spoon, and we just basically ate it with the spoon right off the cake plate. So the following year, though, I was very determined not to let that happen again. So reworked the whole recipe. It looked amazing. I called it my redemption Black Forest cake, and that's what I'm doing now, moving forward. So
Always the redemption recipe.
Absolutely.
Hang on one moment, please.
Yes.
I think maybe my husband might be home. The dogs are going nuts.
Excited to see Chris.
Nice.
Yes,
possibly. Yes, possibly.
All right. Ready for your question? Question number.
I love questions. You have no idea how much I love being asked questions.
That's awesome.
Conversation, please. Just ask me questions.
All right. So, if you could bake with any baker or chef, who would that be and why?
Oh, you know what really
I stumped Lisa.
No, but I have somebody in mind, but I don't know how to pronounce his last name properly. So
okay.
He's not actually really a baker. But Amaury, how do you pronounce his last name? Guichon? The chocolate guy.
Oh, yes. Yes.
He makes such amazing creations that I want to learn from him. Like I watched School of Chocolate, which is so amazing. And just everything that he does. I'm like, I want to know how to do that. I want to see how to do that. Show me, please. He does bake. I shouldn't say he's not a baker because his creations are just, oh my gosh, so beautiful. He doesn't do only chocolate creations, but he does do those desserts. And I would like to learn from him. And he seems like very gentle and genuine and kind in the way that he teaches. And I think that I would really enjoy that and respond to it. And I think I would learn a lot. So
yeah, I agree with you. I think it's mind-blowing, the creations he puts together. Just crazy fantastic. And I mean, some of them are like just, I don't know what word I'm looking for.
You don't want to say amazing.
Right?
Incredible.
I'm like, I didn't look up all the cinnamon.
Don't look up cinnamon.
I will look
Saigon
up
cinnamon and
cinnamon sugar,
cinnamon
amazing.
toast crunch. If you're out of Lucky Charms, you got to have your cinnamon toast
Right?
crunch. Yes.
Anyhow,
Anyway, he is
just
a
like
fabulous,
gravity, gra-
gravity defying.
gravity defying creations, and I mean just incredible realistic
Yes,
pieces of edible art.
I
And
know.
I agree with you, and
Exactly.
I watched that show as well,
Yes,
and he seems like such a lovely soul.
he does. I
He seems
know.
like such a
Dog is
beautiful
still
person,
barking.
so kind, and I agree with
Exactly.
you. I think he would be amazing. What an incredible experience that would be
That would be.
to spend some time with him and download all of that knowledge.
Yes, so much so it would be amazing. Okay, so I have another question for you. So that one
Mhm.
was not one that I had on my list.
Ah,
But I have, who is your favorite Great Canadian Baking Show alumnus?
oh man, Lisa, that's that is such a tough question because it's like
Because we have
asking
so many.
somebody, yeah, it's like asking who's your favorite child. Um, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
You
I
only
only
have
have
one
one,
child.
so it's much easier. But no, but it would be like having to choose your favorite kid. And I have loved so many over the years. I especially love cheering for the hometown heroes, as I call them. I love the BC Bakers and supporting them as much as possible. So it's been really awesome. Obviously, Loic was on here. He was one of my faves. I think you and I talked through the whole season last season, and both of us had him pegged for being in that finale at the
Yes,
end
we
of
sure
it,
did.
and
Yeah.
even taking the whole thing. So our predictions were correct. But right, and so he definitely was a favorite, but I really loved a lot of the bakers. Season 5
Mhm.
bakers were amazing too. I
Yeah.
mean, just lovely, warm, genuine, authentic people on that series, like Steve and Vincent, just so kind.
Amy and
Amy,
Karen
yeah,
and Marion and Amanda and like
so
everybody.
many. I'm
Google.
right.
Who are we missing?
There were just so many. But
Janelle.
I think if there was one baker that I had to choose, I would probably go with Rafikat. Just
Yeah.
I really just loved her and her warmth and her kindness towards all the other bakers on the show. And she
Yeah.
was always calm, cool, collected. You never saw her really frazzled.
Yes.
And what I really also appreciated with how she did things, she had this elegance of with her bakes as well.
Mhm.
So they weren't like the craziest, most outlandish decoration everywhere kind of bakes, but they were just elegantly put together, very classic, clean,
Yeah.
just wonderful. And I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
What she brought to the show, and obviously so did the judges because she ended up winning. I think that was
Yes.
season 4.
Or
Yeah,
I bawled my face off.
yeah.
I just loved watching every moment of having Rafikat on
Hmm.
screen was just like, I mean, heartwarming, and I
Totally.
always think of this one moment. Um, Everything was kind of falling apart and she was finished what she was
Yeah,
doing and Birdie was having a hard time and just the way that she just came over and she's like, Birdie, what can I do? How can I help you? And
yeah.
I mean, I just felt like her presence was a big hug in that tent for everybody and it came out through the screen. So and she's like that in real life too. She's just lovely and
Um,
genuine and so kind. I haven't met her in person, but just the interactions that we've had, being able to chat with her online. And we will have our opportunity to chat with her again because she has agreed that she will be with us on one of our future podcast episodes.
Yay!
And
Can't
and
wait.
and
Can't wait.
so many amazing people that
Hmm.
come from that show, and that family feeling behind it is just and here we are continuing the family. Yay!
Yay! I know. And again, like we spoke about it earlier, right? It's like the community of these wonderful bakers, and especially the ones from Great Canadian Baking Show. There's just
Yeah.
such warmth and Yeah, and so much love for everybody.
Yeah,
And
it's like when you teach your kids to play games, but they have those cooperative games instead of the competitive games. So it's like the goal is for everybody to kind of, work together. And I mean, there's still, I guess, only one winner at the Great Canadian Baking Show. But like Loic was talking about how everybody would, support each other when they were practicing their bakes, and they would, all cheer for each other when they did well, or offering him the
mhm,
advice of using dowels and cake
yells.
plates in his cake when he had never heard of it before. I mean, every single little story that he told made me feel like, this was really a community supporting him to win. Like,
Mhm,
they all wanted to win. Like, they all wanted to be the last one standing, of course, but they were all just as happy for each other for every success that they had. And so
absolutely.
oh, that was amazing.
Yeah, and that's the
Yeah.
magic of Great Canadian Baking Show as well, is exactly that, that community, that love for each other, that everybody just helps each other out, and it's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yes,
Which is a
definitely.
great
Agreed.
segue to my next question is,
Oh,
why do you want to bake in that iconic tent one day?
because I'm a sucker for punishment. I think it's just always been one of those things that I feel like it would be kind of the pinnacle of my baking achievements. It probably wouldn't actually be the pinnacle, but it's been the thing that inspired me, the British show. And then when the Canadian show came, I mean, I started bawling my face off when I saw it. Did I say that same phrase? I started crying when I saw that they were going to do a Canadian version of it. And then it became like, I could actually do this. I could be there. I could do, feel those feelings of being part of this baking family with other people who enjoy and love baking as much as I do. And I could challenge myself with the technical bakes, and I could learn more and grow. And I have always just said it feels like that's home, and this baking family is my family. And I'm just waiting to get to my family. And that is my biggest reason for wanting to be in that tent, is to be with the people who understand, and to be able to challenge myself. And of course, we get to do this now. And so I get to have those conversations and discuss things and be with the people that are part of my baking family. And so that's huge. But I still want to be in the tent. I still eventually want to get there. All
And
right.
you will, Lisa. I have no doubt. And I think you have so many fans as well. And we certainly saw that. We were both at the audition in Vancouver back in January. And seriously, everybody knew Lisa. Everybody knew who Lisa was. It was like,
Yeah,
oh,
it's
there's
weird.
Lisa. And no, I think it's amazing, to honest. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's a testament to
It
all the
was a
hard
pretty
work
good feeling.
that you do. Yeah, I bet it would be. So that's awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome and amazing.
I just am grateful. I mean, this is now I don't know how to respond to that. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. I mean, I that's the tough part about being friends with all these people who are trying to get onto the show. And, it's like we both want to try, and we both work really hard, and we both do amazing things like your bakes. I mean, I can't even imagine doing the things that you can do. And I learn so much from you all the time. Um, and then for us to be like, oh, we don't have this opportunity to be on the show this time, but we support everybody. When we get the list of who's going to be on season 8, we're going to be so excited if there's anybody that we know on that.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's that feeling of like, thank you for saying that I'm doing a good job. I want you to know how much of an amazing baker I think you are, and I support you 100%. And I know that you're going to be in that tent someday. So
Well,
hopefully
that's
we'll
very,
all get
very
our turn.
kind. I mean, you know, it, I think I am grateful in so many ways for the Great Canadian Baking Show, just for bringing us together.
Yeah.
And bringing us together with the rest of the community as well. So, like you said, although we've not stepped foot into that tent, we've never baked in there. Obviously, we are hopeful that one day we will get there. We'll have that opportunity. As Loic said, just keep applying
Yeah.
and just keep at it, because for a lot of the bakers that we're going to be having conversations with over, not just for the Great Canadian Baking Show, but for other baking shows, it's about
Mhm.
keeping that persistence. Just keep applying year
Yeah.
after year after year. And if you're what they're looking for that season, you will have that
Yes.
opportunity. So I'm
Yeah.
very hopeful
And
for you, Lisa, because I know how hard you've worked to hone your skills, to put yourself out there, and be so raw with your emotion on that. It's really inspiring for me, and I am humbled by your kind words for my baking, because I am like completely fangirling over you. So it's so beautiful to have this friendship with you, and see you grow, and I will be your biggest cheerleader if you get into that tent one day.
and I feel the exact same way about you. And I'm pretty sure we're not going to ever be in the tent at the same time because like we're the same person. So there's no way that that's
We're the same person, so I doubt it. Unless they're doing a twins episode. Maybe that's an
okay. That
idea.
would be hey. Let's just put that out to the producers. Okay.
Well, that would work, wouldn't
What's your
it?
yeah? I think it would. I don't know. It's so hard because I feel like I want to be able to, focus on my own thing. And if you're there in the tent, I want you to be able to focus on your own thing. And I feel like if we went in there already knowing each other, it would just be like the other people wouldn't stand a chance. We'd be like just in our own little
Actually,
world
I know your
together.
personality. Yes and no, though. I mean, we're both pretty inclusive type people, right? Like, I think
That's
we
true.
love
That's
having
true.
that community of people around us. And
Yeah.
so I think while it would be tough because we'd already have that relationship, but I think it would just be so lovely to expand our network even more. And I think we
Yeah,
could easily
that's
do
true.
that because I think we're just
Oh,
that type of people. Yeah.
because we're trying to do that right now.
We
That's
talk to
exactly what this is
anybody.
all about. Yeah, we like people.
Exactly.
People are good.
Exactly.
Yeah,
We like
exactly.
people.
Okay,
Yeah, especially
let's talk,
bakers.
especially baker peoples. So, if you were going to be talking to
Hmm.
somebody about baking in general, what would you say is your favorite thing to bake?
Oh,
I mean, I
all
feel
right.
like
That's
I
a
have
good
the
question.
answer to this question, but
Do you? Do you?
no. Well, no. This
I
is the
think
thing: is I feel like I do, but I feel like you will
so.
surprise me.
And well, maybe I will. Maybe there are still things you don't know about me.
I think so.
um, I I would say that's actually very similar to the last question. Like, it's hard to just pinpoint one thing, because I have a lot of favorite bakes that I do, depending on what I'm baking for. So, like, my dad is a huge lemon meringue pie fan, and I love nothing more than to make that for him. It's also happens to be one of my favorite desserts, I think, because I'm daddy's girl as
Love it.
well, and I just
Mhm.
love anything lemon meringue. So I may, make sure that anytime I head home to the Okanagan where my dad's still living and where I grew up, every time I go back there, I try to make sure that I bring something with me as well. That's usually lemon meringue. Yes. So whether it be
Yes,
eclairs or macarons, which I think is what you thought that I would actually say, because I love making those as
that's what
well.
I
Um,
thought it might be.
Yeah, and but anything lemon meringue, and a lemon meringue macaron would definitely be near that top of that list as well. Yes, I do. I do love making macarons, and I love macarons as a little sweet treat. They're just the perfect little nugget of joy for me, and yeah, they're easy to share, and the flexibility, the versatility of them to put any flavor combination, sweet or savory, that you can imagine you could do in a macaron format. So I really appreciate that.
Actually, you for your audition for Vancouver,
Hmm.
you made some traditionally sweet bakes that you turned into savory bakes.
I did. I did.
You
Not that it
did.
helped
Tell
me
us
at
a little bit.
all to get into the tent, but yes.
Well, it
I
made me
did.
really happy because I
So
prefer savory to sweet, so I was really happy to eat
yeah,
your stuff.
that's so kind. And yeah, so what I did was I love a French patisserie. So I love making anything that the French would make. It's just it makes me happy to make macarons and madeleines and choux pastry and souffles and that kind of stuff. So I decided to marry my love of French patisserie with my background, which is Portuguese. So my parents were Portuguese immigrants. I am too. I actually was born in Portugal, and our family immigrated to Canada and settled in the Okanagan Valley. So I really felt that it was important to bring some of that cultural background into my bakes and marry those two. So I did 3 different bakes for my audition bake. The first one were little choux pastries that I did with a chorizo mixture.
My
It
favorite.
was
Oh,
filled with the chorizo, and I had done a savory crackling on those in like red and green. It kind of almost looked like Christmas, but those are the colors of the Portuguese flag. And then I did these corn masa madeleine, and they were filled with an olive. I think I'm trying to think now what I actually did, but they were filled with, I believe, an olive mixture, an olive and goat cheese mixture. And then I
yeah,
did
the goat cheese.
some
Oh,
macarons. And then so my macarons were a roasted walnut and fig or paddling.
a
We'll do
roasted
that again.
walnut and
A
fig macaron.
roasted walnut and fig macaron. Yes, is that's what topped my tower. I shaped it in like a little Eiffel Tower,
It
and
was
it was the
beautiful.
base actually. Oh, thank you. Yeah, and the base that I built it off on was a cornbread as well.
I wanted
So
to eat the
yeah.
whole thing. I was so happy that you brought savory stuff. I was like, okay, do you have to show it to
Uh,
the judges still? Because I want to eat the whole thing right now.
well, that's so kind because I was floored by your bake. I don't know if anybody saw what Lisa brought to the audition, but it was like this big, mega huge cake that had
It
like a
was too
full
big.
working carousel on it. And it was made from the most amazing, I still dream about white pepper gingerbread cookies. And seriously, those are incredibly delicious, drool worthy gingerbread cookies I've ever had. And every time I visit Lisa, I'm like, do you have any of those cookies around? And last time you were here, we actually made some. So I actually have some dough sitting in my freezer waiting for a special
Yeah,
occasion to bring out that dough to eat that. Or I may just eat
that
the dough by myself because I love raw cookie
and
dough.
that's what our baking scraps title on our YouTube channel is made of, is those white pepper gingerbread cookies. And they're pretty tasty. I like them. I have soft
And it's
spot for them.
amazing. Oh, so good. And it's amazing some of those we had enough left to do the baking scraps as I was like gnawing down on them. So
Scraps
good.
are the best part.
So good.
Yes.
The scraps are the best part. So as some of our listeners may or may not know, you have done every single bake-along, the signature challenge, the technical, and showstopper for every single season of Great Canadian Baking Show, the last 5
The
seasons.
last 5.
You
Yeah.
have done every single bake-along. So my question for you, and I think a question that most people would want to hear your answer, who gets to eat all of this amazing baking that you do for 8 weeks every fall?
It's been fun actually trying to figure out how to get rid of all this baking that ends up in my kitchen, because I love the challenge of it. I love the practice. It's very, very helpful with developing flavor combinations. And I now keep a flavor list of what combinations work and don't work, or ideas that I have, so that then when the next showstopper or a signature bake comes along, I can look at my list and be like, okay, what combination haven't I tried yet? My husband jokes that before I started doing this, he was about 400 pounds. lighter, but of course he's a very athletic
I've
young
met
man.
him. Yeah.
he's not he's not overweight by any means, and he's actually like us. He prefers the savory stuff,
Hmm.
so he doesn't necessarily eat all of the sweet stuff. I work as a nurse in labor and delivery, and so usually what happens is I end up just bringing it to work, and everybody's very happy to see me.
I bet they are.
But last season, one of my friends, Sheila, she suggested that maybe it would be a good idea for her to like pick a themed week, and she would sponsor my bakes for that week. And so what she did was she actually paid for all the ingredients, and she chose, what was the week? It was Spice Week. And she likes
Mm,
heavily spiced things. So it was a perfect week for her.
nice.
Also, she prefers savory things, or actually, maybe she doesn't. Anyway, she loves spicy stuff. So she paid for all the ingredients for that week, and I basically made a signature for her, made a technical for her, made a showstopper, and either delivered it or she came in and picked it up. And I got really excellent critiques, and I had the fun of baking it without having to wonder about how this thing that it was 700 degrees too spicy for me to put in my mouth would go. And so, yeah, it was really fun. And I kind of feel like maybe next season I'll ask if anybody else wants to sponsor a week, because it's not really so much about paying for the ingredients, but it was really nice to know that I was doing it for someone
Yeah.
and not just for myself and for learning. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I feel you on that, right? And
Yeah.
that's what gives me the most joy when I do bake is
Yes.
baking for other people and being able to share that joy
Truly.
with people. And yeah. And so
Yes.
I applaud you though for having that level of commitment
Yes.
and passion um to just find all the time to be able to do that as well, because it's a time consuming task.
And I thought every time that the show is airing, I always think, oh, I'm too tired. I'm not going to do it this time. It's too tiring to do it. But I have never been as tired as I have been this last week with us getting started on this whole baking scraps endeavor. Yeah, no, I'd rather almost be as tired as I was when I was baking all through all the technicals and showstoppers and signatures, etc. I will be doing it again for season 8.
Yay!
And somehow I managed to find the time, but yeah, they may not be as elaborate this time around because this is taking a little bit of our time, but I love to do it, and practice makes better, right? Doesn't have to be
Absolutely.
perfect, but it makes better. So
Yeah,
I want to keep
absolutely.
getting better. Yeah. Okay, I have my last question for you.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
I'm
If
ready
you
for
could
you.
if you could eliminate one food so that nobody could ever eat it again, what would you destroy?
Okay. All right. This is probably not a difficult one for me, although I think I'm going to probably have some hate mail for the people who really, really love this. But
It's
I
not
would
raisins, is it?
no, it's not raisins because I can actually
Get
see
behind raisins.
I
Yeah.
can get behind raisins in certain bakes. But one of the things that I would definitely, if I never saw it in any, and it's used in both savory and sweets, is anything that's licorice flavored. So star anise, fennel, um, just no go for me. No go for me. It's
Cool.
I just find, and I think the reason behind that is I find that it
Hmm.
overpowers everything that it's in,
Yeah.
for the most part. And I really am a true believer in letting balance come to play,
Hmm.
having nicely balanced flavors, nothing's, and especially in flavor combinations, like, things are complementing each other. They're not
Yeah.
overtaking them. And I find with anything that's got that star anise or fennel or like any of that black licorice kind of
Yeah.
flavor, for me,
Yeah,
it
you don't like it.
overwhelms. I just don't like it. I don't
I
like it.
understand why. Yeah. I mean, I love black licorice, like the candy. I would love to just have black licorice all day long. I mean, especially Dutch black licorice. We got the honey licorice, it's good stuff, and we got the sour ones and the salty ones. Oh, they're so good. But I don't like it in any kind of other um what do you call it? Implementation. I don't like it in any other thing like baking,
Yeah.
any kind of flavor. Fennel, don't like.
Ugh.
Anise, I don't like, So I agree with you on that, but I'd be very sad not to have my shoestring
Your
black licorice
black
anymore.
licorice. There you go. And actually,
That's okay.
it's funny that we're talking about this as well, because Lauren, another awesome BC baker that won Great Canadian Baking Show
Yes.
in season 6.
Congratulations, Lauren.
Woohoo, Lauren. But she just had a post recently that said she's actually teaching herself to appreciate flavors that she has not appreciated in the past. And all the
Good for
power
her.
to her. I think that is a very admirable task and challenge that she set for herself. I don't know that
You're not going to do it.
I'm not going to do that.
Not for licorice.
Lauren's much younger than I am. I feel like in my last years that I have left
In your
life,
dotage, you're set in your ways.
not only that, but I feel like I know what I like, and I am happy. There's not a lot that I don't like. But I feel very strongly about those things that I don't like. And so I feel like I've got enough other variety of flavors and herbs and all that kind of stuff.
Agreed.
That I would be, I'm a happy camper, and I can come up with lots of variety and great flavor combinations without having to use that. So
okay, that sounds very reasonable and rational to me. Rational?
Rational. Yeah, that works. But Murphy's Law, if I ever do make it on the Great Canadian Baking Show, they'll probably have a licorice week for me.
That would be horrible. A licorice week. Oh, man.
You never know. Have they had one before? They might have. Maybe on the Dutch
to my
one.
knowledge.
Maybe on the Dutch one, though.
Maybe they have.
Licorice is very popular there. If anybody knows, let us know, because that would be really interesting.
Yes. I'd be very interested to know that. And I also would love to watch the Dutch Bake Off with my mother, because my mother's Dutch and she could tell me what they're saying, but I could just drool over the food.
So. Well, that's all that we really, that's all that we do now anyway, isn't it? We can watch it in any language.
And then we run to our kitchen and make it. So we can
Exactly.
All right. You know what time it is?
It is time for this or that. The Lisa Chris edition.
Yes, and we are going to do this very snappy patter, back and forth, one to each other, one back and forth, one to the other. Okay,
like a tennis match.
No explanation, just bang, bang, bang. You ready?
Sounds good. Let's do this.
Am I starting?
Sure.
Okay. Sweet, sour, or salty?
Sweet.
Okay.
Cake filling, fruit, cream, or ganache?
Cream. Always. I love a good cream filling.
I thought it was
fruit
just
or
one
nuts.
good answer. Oh, sorry. Fruit or nuts? Fruit.
Winging it or having a plan?
I like a combination of those two.
Hey, that's cheating.
Plan with pivot opportunities.
Okay, plan with pivot. And I mean, that's good. You got to be able to kind of work, like move with the flow, go with the flow.
Exactly. Parchment or baking mats?
Baking mats. Stand mixer or hand mixer?
Oh, that's hilarious. I have the same one.
No,
I do. Stand mixer.
Okay.
Baking in the morning or baking at night?
Both. Is that okay? Can I say that?
Yeah, sure.
Because I do.
Especially during Great Canadian Baking Show weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bake whenever I am not doing anything else.
Makes sense.
American buttercream or Swiss meringue buttercream?
Swiss meringue all day long. Although I can appreciate a good American buttercream if done right.
And yours was very lovely. I really, really, really appreciated that. And I totally stole that recipe from you.
Hey, that's what it's for. Sharing is caring. We are the same people. We are the same people.
Yep, definitely.
Lambeth cake or geode cake?
Oh, yuck.
Pick one. Pick one. I get.
Lambeth cake. Sadly.
I hear it.
Oh, oh yeah.
Sorry. I had to throw one in there that was like to really stump you.
It's like just this disgusting thing or that disgusting
Which is
thing.
the worst of the evils.
Yeah, you're right. I would go for a Lambeth cake before a geode cake any day. Yeah, especially for eating it. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Cheesecake or brownie?
Ugh. If it's a Basque cheesecake, I'll do that one.
Okay, so you don't really like brownies either then.
Not really. No.
Ah, so this was your disgusting thing versus disgusting thing question.
Pretty much. Pretty much. Unless it's a Basque cheesecake, because then I'm all over those. So
You have discovered that you like the
Yes.
Basque cheesecake. I'm
Oh
gonna
my
have to
goodness.
bake one.
Where were they all my life?
All right, your turn.
Okay. Brownies. Speaking of brownies, fudgy or cakey?
Fudgy.
Mm.
Sifting or no sifting?
Oh, that really depends on what you're making.
Agreed.
So macarons, multi-sifting.
Multi-sifting. Okay.
Multi-sifting, yes. And it
All right,
depends
well,
on the humidity as well.
If you're doing American buttercream, sifting or dumping?
Dumping.
Okay. Well, I just asked 2 questions in a row, but oh well.
That's okay.
Kind of the same question.
That's okay. Cake or pie?
For eating or for making?
Just let's go with eating. Let's go for eating. Cake or pie?
Pie.
What kind? What's your favorite pie?
Not blueberry.
Yes, I heard. Yes.
I do not like blueberries. Yeah. I think I like a good strawberry rhubarb pie.
And it's the season for strawberry rhubarb pie.
That sounds very good right now. Of course,
Totally.
I haven't had dinner, so anything sounds very good right now. Okay, weight or volume?
Wait.
Okay,
Every day.
Good.
Yeah.
good. That's the end of my questions. I'm sorry,
Okay.
I only had
I
8.
have one more. No,
Okay.
that's okay. I have one more
That's
for you.
perfect. That works out.
Yes. Raisins? Yes or no? You know that had to be the ask.
So I guess I have one more question too. I know it has to be straight yes or no. It's not raisins in butter tarts. It's raisins or no raisins.
You know what? I'll let you go on this one. Go ahead. Do your rant or rave about raisins. And
I like raisins in Glazette's raisins, and I am okay with raisins. Oh my gosh, I'm okay with raisins in butter tarts. I just realized it.
Lisa,
Do you feel betrayed by me?
I'm stunned.
I thought about tasting a butter tart, and I was like, I could go for a raisin in there. What is going? Steven's gonna love me. Steve's
No
not necessarily
kidding.
gonna love me, but Steven is gonna love me. What a discovery!
I don't know that we can do this podcast again.
Are you okay? Do you still love me?
It's going to take me a little bit, but I think I'll get over it. It's just I really like all of the rest of you. So I think I will be able to make a bit of a concession and say it's okay.
Let's never bring this up again.
And no. And this isn't judgment-free zone. And I think that's again to kind of wrap this up, this or that. Really, there are no wrong answers.
That did not feel like a judgment-free zone. And I was judging myself also. Did you see the two of us?
I know we should.
I mean, that's a screenshot.
That should be the screenshot for the episode. Actually, a little thumbnail for the episode.
What a thing to realize about yourself, right? When you're picturing biting into a butter tart. And I had never had anything other than Safeway butter tarts growing up, right? And I was like, I don't like butter tarts at all. Right. And then when I was in Toronto, they were like, you've got to try a real butter tart. You cannot say you don't like butter tarts without trying one. And the butter tart that I tried in Toronto had raisins in it, and it was freaking delicious. And I'm so disturbed at this moment.
Well, you know what? I think, here's the other thing, right? Like you said, if your only other example of a butter tart was from Safeway, and nothing against grocery store baking, it serves its purpose and it's all good. But
Sure.
there is no substitute for a baked item, especially one that's baked with a lot of care and attention,
Yeah.
and bakeries that are doing these wonderful bakes that they specialize in or have these old family
Mhm.
recipes that they're doing. I think regardless of what it could be, something that you might not even really thought you liked until you
Yeah.
actually have a bite of something that's really well made,
Yes.
it can definitely change your mind. So
Yeah.
and again, and I think that's a clear example of how that could happen. But I think the shock for me is we literally had this. Well, we had it as one of our polls on
I know.
our Love It or Leave It segments that we do, our Love It and Leave It posts that we do every Monday on our Instagram page. Um, I felt like I kind of knew where you would go with your answer. So this is a real like
I know.
I'm like,
I'm realizing
I
more and more about
I'm
myself in the
stunned.
raisin life.
I'm stunned. And that's good. I mean, here's the thing. I don't necessarily appreciate raisins. If you're going to ask me, maybe I'll wait for you to ask me.
No, I don't have any more questions, but I should ask you that. Raisins or no raisins?
So here's the thing. I can appreciate raisins in certain baked goods. Bagels,
Okay.
cinnamon raisin bagels, one of my
Yes.
favorites, one of my
Yeah.
favorite go-to bagels that
Mm-hmm.
I love to make and also eat.
Mm-hmm. With a
And
good
cinnamon.
schmear.
Yeah. And yes, exactly. And
Yeah.
raisin bran. Love toasted raisin bran with a
Me
nice,
too.
nice thick
Butter.
layer of
Thick
butter.
layer butter. Can I have
Exactly,
some of
right?
that now? Yeah.
I think we all need to make some raisin bran.
This is weird.
Or some
We're
butter
gonna
tarts. But
we're
now
gonna get canceled.
we're not going to get canceled. Not over raisins. Hopefully we're not.
Are
No,
you
I think
kidding?
we're
What
not going to
better
get
reason is for them to cancel us?
canceled. I hope not. Just because we had a
Actually,
discussion on raisins.
you're right, because it is like 50% pretty much, like
Yeah,
Logue said, 50% of Canadians, and you said that our poll was pretty much
pretty
50-50.
much
So you
even
know what?
50-50.
It's all good.
Yeah.
And I'm apparently on one side some of the time and on the other side some of the time too. So
Uh,
yeah.
well, I have a wonderful butter tart recipe that normally does not have raisins in it. And so if you were going to have a butter tart with raisins, would you
Hmm.
have the golden raisins in there or would you do sort of golden raisins or
I
the,
think so.
yeah.
I think golden raisins, I'm soak them in rum for good measure,
Oh,
because I'm all about the rum.
that actually would probably, so the butter tarts that you had in Toronto then, were they
Yeah.
soaked in rum
Yeah.
as well? Oh, okay.
I
Well, I'm
have no
pretty sure
idea. I
Safeway's
have
not doing
zero
that.
idea.
I'm sure Safeway's not
No,
doing that with
those
theirs.
raisins were not,
No,
those were
but
not good raisins.
you know what? So next
Good
time you come
raisins.
over, I've got a fabulous recipe for butter
Yeah.
tarts that I got from my former mother-in-law,
Yes.
who's also in the Okanagan. And she made the best butter tarts and thankfully shared her recipe with me. And so they've never had raisins in them, but she actually uses currants, dry currants in hers.
Yeah.
And it's
That's what you
delicious.
said. Yeah.
Yeah, they're so good.
So are
So
we
what we'll
going to
do,
put currants in them, or are we going to soak?
we're going to do a test. We're going to actually do some
Okay.
without anything at all, plain butter tarts.
Fun.
Then we're going to
Yes.
do some raisins, and maybe we'll do the different types of raisins to actually really understand
Mm-hmm.
what really truly is the best raisin. And we will settle this once and for all. So we'll do all of them, all of the variations.
I am here for this. I am here
Okay,
for this.
that's
Yes,
awesome.
and I
So
think our listeners will want to also know how that turns out.
there you go. And
Well,
maybe
I
what we
think we're
do.
going to wind things up.
Oh, I said maybe we could take it to the street as well. So, because I live in a fairly populated area, so we can actually do hey, well, we've got some raisins. We could do like little mini ones, and then we could
Little
actually
butter tarts. Yeah,
sample. Yeah, so we can sample some people on the street.
that is a fabulous idea.
That'd be so much fun, actually.
It
So
would be really fun.
cool.
Okay, so we're going
So
to put that on the docket for sure.
we will definitely do that.
Yes. Well, let's wrap things up here, because I'm getting kind of hungry. All this talk about raisins for some reason is making me.
I thought it was about the pork roast that you've got in the oven.
It's the pork roast. I have to say, I'm going to cook up some cabbage to go with that pork roast. And I'm
Oh,
actually
yum.
really, really looking forward to it with a mustard cream sauce. And I do a little bit of cooking, not just baking, but
That
yeah, it's
sounds
getting late and
delicious.
it's time to eat.
I think
So
you're
thank you
long
for
overdue.
joining me today.
Thank you for
Yes.
having me. Like you have a choice. We're in this together, buddy. So,
We're in
and I
this
couldn't,
together.
and
Thank
like I
thank
couldn't
us for having us.
thank us for having us. Exactly. And thank you to the listeners for if you're still with us. Thanks for joining
Yes.
us today.
All right. Bye, Christina.
Bye. Bye. Happy baking, everyone.
See you next time.